Olivia, you've changed. You're just too much now. Too fat. You're oversized. You're not like us anymore. You're not beautiful like us again. You don't fit in with our group. You're not part of our world anymore, Olivia. It's just the truth. You can't expect us to pretend like it doesn't matter. We can't hang out with you anymore. People are starting to talk, and we don't want to be dragged down with you.
Olivia stood at the school gates, her heart heavy, as she watched the other students move in and out of the crowd, laughing and chatting, their voices blending together in the usual chaos of the school morning. The noise felt distant to her, as if it wasn't meant for her to be part of. She pulled her jacket tighter around her body, trying to hide the oversized shirt that barely fit her. It wasn't just the shirt. Everything about Olivia felt too much, too big, too wide, too heavy. She hated the way her body seemed to take up more space than it was supposed to. Her size made her feel like she didn't belong. Olivia wasn't like the other girls in school. She was bigger, far bigger than most of them. She could never wear the cute outfits that the others wore, always having to settle for clothes that tried their best to hide the shape of her body, but only seemed to make her look more awkward. Her friends, Lily and Jessica, used to be the ones who defended her. But lately, even they had been distant, and Olivia couldn't help but feel like they were pulling away, just like everyone else. The worst part? She couldn't even fit properly in a seat on the school bus. She had to squeeze herself into the tiny spot, and even then, she spilled over into the space of the person next to her. The looks she got when she sat down were painful. Some people stared at her like she was taking up too much room, and she couldn't ignore the whispers that followed her every step. When the bell rang and she walked into class, she felt everyone's eyes on her. Her seat was in the back, far away from the rest of the students, but it didn't matter. It still felt like everyone could see her. Olivia tried to shrink into herself, sitting as still as possible, her hands clutching her notebook. Every time she looked up, she saw the same thing, the group of popular girls snickering behind their hands, the guys whispering to each other, and her friends, Lily and Jessica, sitting together, looking anywhere but at her. Olivia tried her best to ignore it. She really did. But it was hard. She'd heard it all before. Why is she so big? She must eat everything in sight. No wonder she's always sitting by herself. The whispers, the laughs, the looks, they all blended together in her head, a constant reminder that she didn't belong. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst part was the way the teachers treated her. One teacher in particular, Mrs. Thompson, always made sure to point out Olivia's weight in front of the class. It wasn't even in a teasing way. Well, not exactly, but it still stung. "Olivia, you really need to pay attention," Mrs. Thompson would say. "Maybe if you didn't eat so much, you'd be able to focus more in class." Olivia's face would turn bright red, her heart pounding in her chest. It was like the whole room was laughing at her. No matter how hard she tried, she could never do anything right in Mrs. Thompson's eyes. Every small thing she did was met with judgment. It was as though her body had become the reason for everything she couldn't do. And then there was the cafeteria, the one place Olivia hoped she could go to escape. But no, even there she couldn't escape the stares. She would sit at a table, a tray of food untouched, but it didn't matter. The other students always seemed to find a way to comment. It was like they didn't even try to hide their judgments anymore. One day, Lily and Jessica, who used to sit with her, suddenly stopped coming to the table. At first, Olivia didn't think much of it, thinking maybe they were just busy. But the next day, the same thing happened. They were sitting with the popular girls, laughing and chatting like everything was fine. And then, the words came. "Olivia," Lily said, her voice quiet, almost like she didn't want Olivia to hear. "I don't think I can sit with you anymore." Olivia froze, feeling the words sink into her chest like a heavy weight. She looked up, her eyes searching Lily's face for any sign of a joke, but there was none. Jessica, sitting beside her, looked away, too embarrassed to even meet Olivia's gaze. "Too mean," Lily continued, her voice shaky. "People talk, and I don't want to get caught up in your problems. You know how it is." Olivia's stomach twisted. It was like the floor had dropped out from beneath her. "What problems? What are you talking about?" she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Lily shifted uncomfortably in her seat, and Jessica nodded, her eyes wide with guilt. "I'm sorry, Olivia," Lily said softly. Olivia couldn't listen anymore. She stood up, grabbing her tray and walking out of the cafeteria. The voices of the other students faded into the background as she pushed open the door and walked down the hallway, feeling her chest tighten. She had been left alone not just by the other kids, but by her friends, the ones she thought would always be there for her. The bathroom door slammed behind her, and she locked herself in a stall. She leaned against the cold tiles, trying to hold back the tears. But they came, and they came fast, spilling down her face in waves. She wiped her eyes, but it didn't stop the flood. She couldn't understand why they had turned on her. She had always been kind, always been there for them, but none of that mattered now. Her size, her body, everything had become a problem. At home, things were a little better. Her parents never made her feel like she was wrong for being who she was. Her mum would always tell her that beauty wasn't about the number on the scale or the way people looked at you. "You're perfect just the way you are, Olivia," her mum would say, brushing her hair back from her face. "Don't you ever let anyone make you feel less than amazing." But even her mum's words didn't feel like enough. The next morning, Olivia felt the weight of everything. She knew the teasing wouldn't stop, that the whispers and laughter would still follow her through the halls. She felt the way her body pressed against the tight spaces in the bus, like she was too big for even the seat. But for some reason, she couldn't bring herself to care about it as much. It hurt, yes, but it wasn't the end of the world. Not anymore. She didn't want to be invisible anymore. She wanted to be something more than the size of her body. But for now, she just had to survive the days. The pain was real, but the dream she had kept hidden in the back of her mind, of walking down a runway, of standing in front of the world and showing everyone who she really was, that dream felt far away. But it was still there. It was the only thing keeping her going, the one thing that still made her believe that one day things would be different. But for now, she had to endure. She had to face another day, another round of whispers, another set of looks that made her feel like she didn't belong. The days dragged on for Olivia, each one a blur of harsh whispers, mocking stares, and the ever-present reminder that she didn't belong. She spent her time quietly, watching as the world around her moved without her, as if she was invisible to everyone but the people who wanted to tear her down. Her classmates found new ways to remind her of her place. One day, as she sat quietly in class, she overheard a group of girls talking. "Can you believe Olivia's not invited to Mia's birthday party?" one of them said. "It's going to be at her house this weekend. I heard Mia didn't want her there." Olivia felt her stomach drop. She didn't even need to ask why. She already knew. She was too big, too different. And to them, that made her unworthy of being invited. Even though they had once been her friends, now it was like she was a burden. Olivia tried to tell herself it didn't matter, that she didn't want to go to a party where people would just talk about her behind her back. But the truth was, it hurt. It hurt more than she could put into words. It was like another door being slammed shut in her face, another reminder that she wasn't enough. Her parents noticed the change in her. They noticed the way she withdrew more, the way she stopped talking about school as much. They tried to comfort her, but there wasn't much they could say that would ease the pain. "You're beautiful the way you are, Olivia," her mum would say, giving her a hug, but it never felt enough. It wasn't enough when the world outside her home kept reminding her of how different she was. Things got worse when sports came around. Olivia had always hated gym class, and not just because of her size, it was the way she was treated. The way they'd always pick the other kids first, leaving her to stand there, trying to hide her discomfort. This time was no different. It was during a game of basketball. The coach blew his whistle, calling the teams together. The other kids were excited, chattering about their positions, about how they were going to win. Olivia stood off to the side, hoping not to be noticed. She hated the games. She hated the way everyone always looked at her, as if they knew she wouldn't be able to keep up. "All right, team," the coach said, pointing at the players. You, and you get on the court. Olivia, you should step aside. You're just taking up space right now. Give room for people who are more flexible, more beautiful." The words hit Olivia like a punch to the stomach. Beautiful? She wasn't beautiful. And she definitely wasn't flexible, not like the other girls. The coach said it without any hesitation, like it was perfectly normal to dismiss her in front of everyone. She could feel the heat rise in her cheeks as she stepped back, trying to shrink into herself even more. The other kids didn't even look at her. It was as if she wasn't even there. She walked off the field, feeling the weight of their words, the weight of her body. She tried to tell herself it wasn't a big deal, that gym wasn't important. But the truth was, every time she was asked to step aside, every time they called her out for something she couldn't control, it felt like she was fading away, like she didn't matter. When she got home that day, she couldn't stop the tears from coming. They just kept spilling, flooding her face as she lay on her bed, the same bed she had spent so many nights dreaming of a different life. A life where she wasn't defined by the size of her body, where people saw her as something more than just the girl who couldn't fit into their world. But that life felt so far away, and the reality of her world, of the teasing, the judgment, the loneliness, was suffocating. Her mom knocked on her door softly, and Olivia quickly wiped her tears, not wanting anyone to see her cry. But her mom knew. She always knew when something was wrong. "Olivia, sweetheart, talk to me. I know it's been hard," her mom said gently, sitting beside her on the bed. "I'm just tired, Mum," Olivia whispered. Tired of feeling like I don't belong. Tired of being the one no one wants. I don't know how much longer I can take it." Her mum wrapped her arms around her, holding her tightly. "You're strong, Olivia. You'll get through this. It's hard right now, but I promise you, things will change. You don't need to fit into their world. You just need to be you." But Olivia didn't feel strong. She didn't feel like she could keep going, not when the world kept pushing her down, telling her that she wasn't good enough. That night, she stared at the ceiling, the words from gym class echoing in her head, the insults from the cafeteria, the way her so-called friends had turned on her. It was all too much. She had spent so many years wishing she could just disappear, but no matter how much she wished, she couldn't. She wasn't invisible. No, she was the target. The one everyone pointed at, laughed at, whispered about. But deep inside, something stirred. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. A flicker of determination. A spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could prove them wrong. Maybe she didn't need to shrink herself anymore. Maybe she didn't have to listen to the cruel things they said. Olivia didn't know how or when, but she knew one thing for sure: she wasn't done. Not yet. She was going to find a way to show them, show the world, that she wasn't what they thought she was. She was more than just the girl who couldn't fit into their world. She was going to find her place, and she was going to do it on her own terms. The school year had finally ended, and Olivia felt the weight of the world settle heavily on her shoulders. The halls were quieter now, the whispers less frequent, but they still echoed in her mind. She watched as everyone else seemed to move forward. Her classmates were celebrating milestones, traveling, meeting new people, and getting married. They were living lives that looked full of joy and excitement, while Olivia was still stuck in the same place she'd been for years, lost, invisible, and hiding from the world. She thought about the way she had spent her teenage years, how she had let the bullying and the hurt shape who she was. But the truth was, she couldn't keep living like this. She couldn't keep hiding. Watching everyone around her move forward made her realize something. She was done being the girl who sat in the corner, the girl who let her dreams slip away because of fear and pain. She was done with being the person no one saw, the person who allowed others' opinions to control her life. And so, Olivia made a decision. She would take control of her life. She would take the pain and whatever it would cost, no matter how many years it would take. She would make a change, not for anyone else, but for herself. She wasn't going to sit in the shadows any longer. She was going to work for it. She started exercising, but this time, it wasn't like before. It wasn't just half-hearted attempts at dieting or a few half-hour workouts she'd do when she felt like it. This was different. This was serious. Every day, she forced herself to work out, no matter how tired she felt, no matter how sore her muscles were. It was grueling, and there were days she just wanted to quit. But she pushed through. Each session felt like a battle, but Olivia was determined to win it. She signed up for the gym, even though the thought of going there terrified her. The idea of people staring at her, laughing at her, made her stomach churn, but she knew she had to do it. She couldn't get anywhere by staying inside her comfort zone, and at first, it was hard, really hard. The stares, the whispers, the comments behind her back. People laughed. They mocked her, whispering that she'd never be able to stick with it. Some even said it to her face, telling her that girls like her didn't belong in the gym. She ignored them. She had to. The pain was real, but so was her determination. Day after day, she kept going. She lifted weights, did cardio, and pushed her body harder than she ever had before. Every drop of sweat, every muscle ache, it was all part of her journey. She wasn't going to let the laughter or the stares hold her back. She wasn't doing it for them. She was doing it for herself. Slowly, things started to change. At first, it was subtle. Her clothes fit a little differently. Her energy levels increased, and she felt stronger. But over time, people began to notice. At first, it was just a few curious glances, a few compliments here and there, but as the weeks passed, the change in her became undeniable. Her body was transforming, sure, but so was her confidence. She no longer felt like she was shrinking in the background. Olivia started to hold her head up higher, walk with purpose, and for the first time in years, she felt proud of herself. Her progress didn't go unnoticed by others. People began to respect her determination, her commitment. They started to compliment her, telling her how much they admired her discipline and strength. The gym, which had once felt like a place of judgment, had become a place of empowerment. Olivia's transformation was physical, yes, but it was also mental. She was no longer the girl who couldn't fit in, the girl who was invisible to the world. She had become someone people looked up to. But Olivia wasn't done yet. She had a goal now. It wasn't just about losing weight or looking different, it was about showing the world that change was possible. She wanted people to see how hard she'd worked. She wanted her friends, especially Lily, to see that she had taken the pain, the mockery, the isolation, and turned it into something beautiful. So, Olivia did something she had never done before. She started recording herself. Every workout, every progress shot, every moment she felt like giving up, but pushed through anyway, she captured it all. She wanted the world to see that she had done it. She wanted Lily, Jessica, and everyone who had turned their backs on her to see that she had made it. She wasn't the girl they used to know. She had become someone else, someone stronger, someone who refused to give up. She posted her journey online, hoping that her story would reach people who were struggling like she had. She wanted to inspire them. She wanted them to know that no matter how long it took, no matter how hard it seemed, change was possible. The reactions came flooding in. Some people cheered her on, telling her she was amazing, that her story inspired them. But the best part? When Lily reached out to her, after months of silence, Lily sent her a message. It was simple, just a few words. "I'm so proud of you, Olivia. You did it." And just like that, Olivia's world started to shift again. This time, it wasn't because she had lost weight or changed how she looked. It was because she had changed how she saw herself. She had become the person she always dreamed of being. Not because of anyone else's approval, but because she finally learned to believe in herself. And that, she realized, was the most beautiful transformation of all. As Olivia's progress continued, so did the ripple effect. The change wasn't just physical anymore, it was deep, visible to everyone who looked at her. She had worked hard, pushed through every obstacle, and conquered every self-doubt. It was no longer just about how she looked or how much weight she had lost. It was about the strength she had built, the confidence she had gained, and the fire inside her that no one could extinguish. Her journey had caught the attention of people far beyond the gym. Brands started calling her. At first, it felt surreal, like it couldn't be real. But when the first modeling agency reached out, asking if she would consider being their ambassador, she could hardly believe it. She had gone from the girl who couldn't even find a place at the lunch table to the woman who was being asked to represent major brands. She had never imagined this. Modeling had always seemed like an unreachable dream, something other girls did. But now, here she was, stepping into the spotlight, with cameras flashing around her and the world seeing her not just for the size of her body, but for the strength she carried in every step. Olivia started getting booked for photo shoots, wearing clothes from the same designers she had once only dreamed of. She was on billboards, social media ads, and even walking in runway shows. People who once ignored her or laughed at her were now reaching out, offering opportunities. It was everything she had ever wanted, but never thought she could have. And as her career took off, the people who had once turned their backs on her began showing up again. Lily, Jessica, the girls who had snickered behind her back, they all wanted to be her friend now. They messaged her, commenting on her pictures, complimenting her transformation. They acted as though nothing had ever happened, as though they hadn't been the ones to push her away when she needed them most. But Olivia wasn't bitter. She had grown beyond the girl who sought approval from anyone. She had learned that her worth wasn't tied to the opinions of others. It was tied to how she saw herself, how she had fought for every inch of progress she had made. When Lily reached out again, asking to meet up, Olivia didn't hesitate. She agreed. But this time, it wasn't about rekindling an old friendship. It was about showing her former friends how far she had come. She wanted them to know that they didn't define her anymore. When they met, Lily stared at her, eyes wide in awe. "Olivia," she said, her voice a mix of disbelief and admiration, "you look amazing. I can't believe how much you've changed. I'm so proud of you." Olivia smiled. "Thanks, Lily, but I didn't change for you. I changed for me. I finally realized that I don't need anyone's permission to be who I am." And with that, Olivia walked away from the past. She was no longer that girl who felt invisible, that girl who was always overlooked. She had become the woman she had always dreamed of being, the one who was confident, the one who didn't need to hide, and the one who had worked for everything she had earned. The world loved her now, not because she fit into a mold or conformed to anyone's idea of what was beautiful. They loved her because she had fought for her place in it. And that, Olivia knew, was far more valuable than anything else. Her journey had only just begun. The runway was just the first step. Now, she was ready to take on the world in ways she had never imagined. She had proved to herself and everyone else that no matter what life threw at her, she could rise above it. Because when you take the pain, the struggle, and turn it into something beautiful, there's nothing that can stop you. And for Olivia, the best part was that she had done it all on her own terms.